Do you find, you've been doing this for a long time, do you find more and more people today are suffering from the effects of just terrible stress regulation? Is it worse today than it was when you first came in? Or would you say it's, okay, it is?
It is because we have to remember that the body summates stress, right? Everything in your body's experience is added up. There's no way you can go into the gym and leave your financial problems, your challenge with your wife, your kid's illness, or your parents being in an old folks home and calling you every 20 minutes, begging you to come visit them. You cannot leave those things at the door. Your electromagnetic pollution, your internal toxicity, the toxicity of foods, the toxicity of building chemicals. I don't care what it is. It all summates in the human body. So how your hormonal system is responding is based on the sum total perception of stress in your entire body and environment.
So it's all stress.
It's all, in other words, every person's reaction to stress goes up if there's more chemicals in the environment. If there's a social stressor, like say Donald Trump says we're going to start a third world war, we're going to keep drilling for oil, and the rest of us with a couple of brain cells or more holding hands go, wait a minute, we don't need more carbon in the air. And this guy named Tesla gave us free energy technology a long, long time ago, and you guys just shelved it along with many others like Keeley, and the list is long. So it's not that we don't freaking need oil. We need you to actually stop hoarding the advanced technologies that were given to us by the geniuses that are part of the family of humanity. So I'm only ad-libbing this to make a point. If these kinds of things are important to you and you have the knowledge to see that the world's in deep shit right now, it stresses you out. So how you respond to anything in your environment is based on the sum total of the stressors your body's experiencing physically, emotionally, and mentally. So when we look at facts like 95 to 98% of the U.S. population is only 2 paychecks from bankruptcy because they're in the habit of spending far more money than they make. And we've got all the predatory lending and predatory use of credit cards. We've got high levels of electromagnetic pollution. I mean, we experience a level of electromagnetic pollution today that is like, if you were alive for 2 million years prior to the last 100 years, you wouldn't have experienced what you can get in one day here. I mean, I'm generating that as an example, but it's not factual, but we're under shitloads of electromagnetic stress. And with the 5G system coming out, oh my God, one of my friends who's...
Isn't it like 100 times more, Paul?
It's thousands of times more. It's thousands of times more than it was in 1900. It's right in the book, The Body Electric by Robert O. Becker. He shows it up to like 1990 something. But if you look at the Tinfoil User's Guide to Electromagnetic Pollution by Nicholas Pino. I might have got the title wrong. Nicholas Pino. He's a guy that's done some of my courses, and I interviewed him. His book's excellent, but it's a very good book. You should really look into it. You should interview him. And he shows the current statistics. But when you see what's going to happen with the 5G antennas and stuff, we're all going to be literally walking around in the equivalent of a worldwide microwave oven. I mean, and this, these frequencies are turning the water molecules, agitating your water molecules, which are wickedly sensitive to vibration. And they, for example, years and years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was having so much pain in my neck. There it is.
Oh, there's the book.
The non-tinfoil guide. Yeah, the non-tinfoil guide to EMFs.
Yeah. So a few years ago, I was studying this, and I came across research showing that electromagnetic pollution by wireless systems caused a huge increase in inflammation in the body. And, I think I told you guys years ago I had a guy fall on my head when I was doing a lifting stunt, and it blew out my C5, 6, and 6, 7 discs, tore a bunch of ligaments, pinched my spinal cord, shut the whole left side of my body off. And I lost 24 pounds of muscle in like 4 weeks because I couldn't even carry a briefcase. Well, that was a freaking hard thing to rehab. My neck was, a surgeon would have wanted to fuse it right away. But I used to be in so much pain at night. I couldn't find a comfortable position. My neck would ache like hell. My wife can tell you I would wear completely through a bed sheet in about 3 months, just wear it till there was a hole in it. Well, after I found this research and said, okay, Penny, let's try shutting the wireless system off at night. The first night she shut it off, man, I remember waking up in the morning, jumping out of bed going, oh my God, I slept all night and I feel freaking great. What the hell? That wireless system's been jacking the shit out of me. Now, if she ever forgets to turn it off, man, I am like a Christmas goose all night. I'm all jacked up. I'm rolling in bed all night. It used to drive Penny crazy because I would just be rolling constantly in bed in pain. But once we started shutting the wireless system off, it was a freaking massive improvement in how much deeper of a rest I got. And because it wasn't stimulating all this inflammation in my body, I was healing and I started recovering from training better. And so I'm thinking, I know what a wireless system in a house can do. What are we going to have happening to our kids and the animals? I mean, I was in Alaska recently on vacation, right? I'm in Seward, Alaska, way the hell out in the middle of nowhere. And they've got cell phone coverage so good. We took a helicopter way up in the mountains and we're like miles out of town and you can turn your phone on and you got 5 bars anywhere on the hiking trail. I'm like, this is crazy.
I can only get 2 at my house. That's crazy.
I was blown away. I'm like, I am in the middle of freaking nowhere. If I did not have a compass right now, it would be easy to get lost out here. And I've got full cell signals. I'm like, all the animals out here are being drowned in electromagnetic pollution. And it's
a big experiment. It really is. It is a big experiment. And even the leading researchers will say, we don't really know. We'll probably know in about 20 or 30 years.
Well, you aren't going to make it that long. We're already losing. Like Steiner said in like 1890 or something like that, there's 2 things human life depends on. And when they get to critically low levels, we're in deep trouble. Those 2 things are bees and trees. And we have already wiped out the tree population way beyond safe limit. And the bees are dying all over the world. And I've looked at lots of the research. And the 2 things that come up consistently, pesticides and electromagnetic pollution.
Right.
And when I do it shamanically and connect to the oversoul of the bee and ask what's going on, you know what the answer I got was? We are tired. We cannot rest because everywhere we go at night, the sky is lit up and there's so much electricity that our bodies cannot rest. We are unable to sleep anymore. So anywhere, this is shamanic interpretation.
Sure.
I mean, if you're a left-brainer...
This is you talking to the bees, you're saying?
Yes. Because I connect to the oversoul of the bees. And the bee family is my first chakra power animal. So I have a connection. Ever since I was a kid, for example, I had a real intimate connection with bees, which I don't know why. I didn't know why. Now I know why, because I have a spiritual connection to them. But like when I was a kid, one time there was a swarm of bees coming at me and my brothers and sisters. We were outside doing some playing in a field in an old abandoned house, actually. And I said to them, don't swing at the bees, because if you hurt one of them, they release a scent that tells all the other ones that you're a danger and they'll come, mass attack you. And I'd already knew this as a kid. And so they would run away, but I would just stay. And I literally one time was covered from head to toe with bees, as thick as you can imagine.
Like those bee beards.
Just crawling all over me. Yeah. My fear was that they were going to climb up my nose into my nostrils or get in my ears, but I just kept blowing air out. But I didn't feel scared at all. I actually had this sort of a sense of being loved by nature, almost as if, like, when a dog licks you out of affection, or your horse rubs its face against yours to say, I love you. I mean, I've had a lot of these potent experiences because I was raised on a farm and lived with animals, right? And then we used to raise all the ones that the mothers couldn't handle because they either had too many or there was an injury or a sickness. So we would raise lambs and goats and all sorts of stuff in the house. I mean, our living room was like the holy manger where everybody that was like the outcast got raised up. So the point that I'm really making is that I wanted to ask as a human being, what's going on? What are we human beings doing that I need to know about so I can help educate people? And that's what the oversoul of the bee told me, was that they're exhausted, and that the night sky almost everywhere now glows. I mean, have you ever been in an airplane landing in a city and you're 100 miles from where you're going to land and the sky is just light? You can look at satellite pictures of the Earth at night, and it's just lit up like a Christmas ornament and you see the lights everywhere from outer space. Like, we are literally lighting the sky at night.
People will argue that there was a lot of that humans have always been under lots of stress, like needing to get food, needing to find shelter, war, illness. But it's a different kind of stress, isn't it? Like, you get chased by a bear and then you survive. The bear's gone. No more threat. No more stress. Versus this like low level, constant, all the time type of stress.
Those kinds of arguments really are often more academic than actual. And what I mean by that is there's a book called 10,000 Years from Metabolic Man, 10,000 Years from Eden by Charles Heiser Worthen, Worthen, who is a naturalist. And I can't remember what else his title are. It's a very good book. But he shows, for example, that the average native culture tribe could meet its daily food requirement and get what it needed done to survive in about 3.5 hours a day on average. So they typically would start with sunrise, and by the time 10 o'clock came around, they had done their work for the day and spent the rest of the day singing, dancing, and playing with the children.
There's the book.
So
Put that in the show notes.
That sounds like a cool schedule.
And he looks at several cultures in there, and I've got many books like this looking into cultures. So a lot of these are ideas that people get from reading a couple of magazines or hearing somebody with a bias talk about it. But when you actually do the research, and I've visited many of the native tribes people all over the world, up the coast where I came from in British Columbia, my parents' business was selling wool to them, to the spinners and the weavers in these tribes. So by no means did they have a hard time meeting what their basic needs were. Remember, they lived in tents and things like that. So it's not like they had expensive electrical bills and cars to pay for, and so. Look, just like today, you would think if you were a healthy person, it's normal to get out of bed and go for a run or go to the gym. Well, they would just go hunting and gathering, right? So all in all, pound for pound, if you're a fit, healthy person today, you're just doing the same shit that they would have been doing, but you're putting the work applied into a gym or to getting other things done. And, going hunting, I grew up in a hunting culture, and my father's a hunter, and I've been out hunting. When you go hunting, you walk very slowly and quietly. You're not out fucking doing an endurance jog through the woods where the animals go, "Oh, who's the dumb fuck coming?" You can hear him a quarter of a mile away. He's going to starve to death. We feel so sorry for him. We'll leave a little shit here just to say, "Hi, dumb shit." We were here way before you. So the point I'm making is it's not like you're out doing some kind of a physically exerting thing. The most exerting thing of a hunt is carrying the meat back home, right? Because you can't just shoot it and tell it to follow you home. You got to carry that back home. So do you see the point I'm making, though? The point is that we worked to create the safety and security we needed, which wasn't nearly as hard as what we're doing today when all things considered, like how many people are overspent? Lots of them. How many people are eating shit and have no energy and overstimulating themselves and taking drugs that they don't need and not addressing the real issues? In other words, when you look at how much energy is going into living foolishly, well, we're working way harder to survive than